Hello, little toads. Grammy here with Chapter 8 of Soup on Ice. Here is the picture that goes with it. I really like these charcoal sketches or pencil sketches or whatever they are. Looks to me like we've got Soup and Rob. Oh, they're having a look at this Santa suit that's hanging up there, and it's like a pretty cool sleigh. Let's see what's going on here. Chapter 8. Rob, my coat was on and my mittened hand was reaching for the kitchen door, ready to escape, just as I heard my mother calling my name. I'm here, Mama. Where are you going at this hour? Oh, just up road to Soup's, I told my mother, bending the truth a little. Remember, she cautioned, it's dark outside and cold, and it'll be your bedtime soon. Be a good lad because Christmas is coming. My hopeful mind envisioned Mama and Papa lovingly wrapping an official Buck Jones Daisy repeater BB gun fresh from the window of Harry's hardware store, a gift for their adorable son. There's school tomorrow, she added. Right, so I'll be back in good season. Outside, I bolted up road in the direction of Soup's, but never got there. Soup, also on a dead run, met me halfway. Out of breath, he told me that he'd informed his folks that he was coming to the Pecks. So far, so good, I said, but what's your secret plan? How come you suggested that we sneak out tonight? Rob, old top, just follow me. I asked a few further questions. Whatever it was that Luther Wesley Vincent was scheming, his furtivity he would unfold in his own casual way. As I trudged along the snow-packed road at his side, Soup abruptly turned north at a corner where another road met ours. Where are we going, Soup? Well, sort of up Mulligan's Road. I stopped. Why? We have to borrow Mr. Sutter's red Santa suit in order to help Miss Boland, and maybe we might even improve her overall plan for Christmas Eve. I'm cooking up a secret plan of my own. You've heard Miss Boland tell us that we had permission to use Mr. Sutter's red suit. I nodded. Soup was right about that. Yet the part that made me itch was the fact that we were borrowing it. As we walked, I mentioned that to Soup. Weren't you listening? He asked. Miss Boland's got so much else to do, she sort of turned the Santa Claus preparation over to us, including getting Slosh Dubinsky ready. Okay, I said. Along most of Mulligan's Road, the farmhouses were already dark. No lights burned within, and no windows invitingly yellowed. Vermonters retire right after prayers, which follows supper, which follows chores, which follows a long day of labor, which on a list of farming priorities is put before anything else. The last house on the lakeside road sat behind a mailbox that modestly stated in faint letters the name of its one large resident. Sutter, it said. I stopped again. I don't like it, especially the part where you said you had some kind of secret plan of your own. Something inside was warning me that Soup was up to doing more than merely borrowing a Santa suit. You will, Rob. It's one of my wildest ideas. Still standing by the mailbox, I said, your wild ideas usually land us smack into a mess of trouble. I don't guess I want to play a part in any dumb prank. Not this close to Christmas. If anything could defeat my getting a BB gun, I was thinking, it would be one of Soup's insane schemes. Soup turned. It's not a prank. We're doing a favor for Miss Boland. We're borrowing a Santa suit. Actually, we're doing most of the favor for Slosh Dubinsky. As Soup spoke the name, I shuddered, and not from the north wind that was blowing down nearby Lake Champlain. However, why I followed Luther Vincent behind the house into Mr. Sutter's barn, I will never know. Favors performed by Soup were usually done for himself, not for Miss Boland, Mr. Dubinsky, or for me. There's something eerie about the way a heavy barn door squeaks at night. The moon had scooted behind a cloud, and the darkness seemed to accentuate the spooky creaking of the door. It groaned like a wailing spirit. Good, said Soup. In we go. It's dark in this place and creepy. Not for long. Soup lit a match, which was immediately blown out by the whipping wind. Rob, did you see it? See what? Over yonder. There's Mr. Sutter's red sleigh. He lit another match, which sputtered briefly and died. Now all we need is to find several more useful items, and we're all set. Ah, here's his Santa suit, coat, pants, and hat. He struck a third match. Good, I said. Mr. Sutter told Miss Boland that it was okay to use his Santa suit, so let's collect it and head for home. Not just yet, said Soup. He wasn't looking at the red suit. Instead, he was eyeing Mr. Sutter's sleigh. Hold on, I told Soup. Miss Boland said we could borrow the Santa suit, but later she claimed we wouldn't need the sleigh. Even if we did, we don't have any horses, and we'd need oxen to pull Mr. Dubinsky. Soup said nothing. He merely lit another match. He studied the sleigh, then blew out the match and became quite busy. Finding a lantern, he lit it and pulled a strange piece of paper from his pocket and unfolded it. It looks like some kind of an odd drawing with lines on it. What are you doing, Soup? Thinking. I don't like it when you think, because it always means we'll get ourselves in trouble. Rob, old top, this won't be any trouble at all, not if my engineering proves to be accurate. Without another word, Soup began to collect several articles that he found one by one in Mr. Sutter's barn. Some tangled wire, a gigantic horse blanket, several bean poles, coils of old rope, plus a jingling set of sleigh bells. He loaded each article into the sleigh. There, he said. Soup, what's all this junk for? He grinned. Just for fun, he said. And I know it'll work. It can't miss. You said it has something to do with our plans for Christmas Eve, I said. His grin extended. Practically everything. In fact, it'll turn an ordinary Santa into a super Santa in a sleigh. And you and I shall be riding beside him during our triumphant entry into learning. I don't like it, I said. Miss Boland said that all we'd have to borrow was the Santa suit. Soup checked all of the so-called equipment that he'd busily assembled. You'll see, he told me. Just be patient. I wouldn't dream of hogging all the glory on Christmas Eve, not without my good old buddy Rob Peck. The way he said it made me grateful that I had Luther Wesley Vincent for a pal, despite his weird plans for impending doom. To be certain, Soup could be a devilish dilemma at times, yet never dull. Somehow he was always a red cherry atop my ice cream sundae. Soup had now climbed into the sleigh, and on his head he was wearing Mr. Sutter's red Santa hat. That's it, he told me. I think we've collected just about every item we'll need for the final construction. What are we going to construct? Is it some nutty kind of machine? Soup beamed. One nifty surprise. I suppose, I told Soup, it's mainly going to be for Mr. Dubinsky, like you said earlier. Yet somehow I suspected otherwise. Well, said Soup, I sort of thought it would be a whole lot of fun if we all made a sleigh bell entrance for Santa on Christmas Eve as a favor to Mr. Dubinsky. Sighing, I looked at the sleigh and its strange load, but little of it made any sense. None, in fact. Soup, I said, I'm really not certain we ought to attempt whatever it is you're planning. Staring down from the junk-piled sleigh seat, Soup shot me a disappointed look. Rob, you want Norma Jean Bissell to admire you as we make a big impression on Christmas Eve? Don't you? I did. My heart danced at the very mention of Norma Jean's name. But as I assessed the little red sleigh, which now looked like a junk wagon, I doubted the seat would hold much more of a cargo than Santa Dubinsky, he of considerable measure. And without horses, I wondered how Soup planned to bring the sleigh to town. Soup seemed to be reading my thoughts. Don't worry, he told me, removing the Santa hat from his head and replacing it with his own purple wool. Usually, I'm not much of a worrywart, except when a lunatic such as Luther Vincent tells me not to worry, at which time I start worrying until my ears ring. As I walked around the sleigh, looking at it in the amber lantern light, I told Soup that I still couldn't fathom how he was planning to use all the wire, a horse blanket, bean poles, an old rope, and sleigh bells. Soup chuckled. Oh, you'll see, he said. It's only a minor variation in Miss Boland's plan. We won't have to borrow the red Santa suit tonight. We won't? No, said Soup. Just trust me. You won't believe what we're really going to do, and you'll really impress Norma Jean. He was baiting the hook again, using Norma Jean Bissell as the enticing worm. What's more, he continued to do so while we were blowing out the lantern and closing Mr. Sutter's barn. We left the Santa suit in the sleigh. As for the mysterious machine, Soup said nothing more on the way home. Whenever I'd probe for a direct explanation, Soup only responded by singing a verse from a song he was composing. The name of his song was Disaster. Oh, a daredevil cowboy named Milton Beware could juggle 5 dynamite sticks in the air, but they found his sombrero in Rio Janeiro and his fanny at old Rutland Fair. Later in bed, no matter how often I'd punch my pillow, I couldn't fall asleep. Finally, out of sheer exhaustion, I drifted off and into one horror of a nightmare. It was a Christmas party. Miss Boland as Santa rode a strange machine constructed from beanpoles, wire, and a horse blanket. Eddie Tacker, Janice Riker, and Soup seemed to be riding 3 camels dressed as 3 wise men. Worse yet, in 3-part harmony, the camels were merrily singing Soup's crazy song, Disaster. I don't know about you, but I can't wait to see what Soup is going to come up with. I can hardly wait for chapter 9. How about you?